Good morning and welcome to day 29. Ruth and the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick flour and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone whose eyes I find favor." Ruth 2, chapter 2, verse 2. Gleaning the fields. A Taliesin has a vision for redeeming a piece of desolate land in the capital city of Dodoma. Recognizing the needs of some of the local widows, Ruth wants to transform these dusty acres into a place to keep chickens and grow crops. Her vision to provide for those in need is rooted in her love for God and was inspired by her biblical namesake Ruth. God's laws allowed the poor or the foreigner to glean, harvest. From the edges of the fields, Ruth in the Bible was a foreigner. Sorry, and therefore allowed to work in the fields, gathering food for her and her mother-in-law, gleaning in Bozar's field. A close relative led Ruth and Naomi ultimately. I'm sorry about my cat. Ultimately finding a home and protection. Ruth used her ingenuity and effort in the workday, gathering food from the edges of the field, and God blessed her. The passion of my friend Ruth and the dedication of the biblical Ruth stir me to give thanks to God for how He cares for the poor and the downtrodden. They inspire me to seek help, to seek ways to help others in my community and more broadly as a means of expressing my thanks to our giving God. How might you worship God through extending His mercies to others? How has He revealed His love for those in need? And then out of 60 Days of Prophecy, peace in the Middle East, prophetic connection. The Antichrist will be a cunning leader who will establish his credentials by securing a peace treaty between Israel and her enemies. In the famous dream recorded in the 7th chapter of his book, Daniel was given a picture of the Antichrist. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up among them, before whom the three of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. 7:8. If we read carefully and understand the symbolic meaning of the horns, we learn that from this verse that the coming world leader will subdue other kings by plucking them out of their roots. He will take over the three kingdoms one by one, not making war, but by clever political manipulation. The Antichrist will begin as a little horn, but then he will succeed in uprooting three of his first horns, thus seizing their power for himself. This event will reiterate in the world, the 11th chapter of Daniel. We read that this future world leader shall come in peacefully and seize the kingdom by intrigue. Daniel 11:21. The Antichrist will be a political genius and a masterful diplomat and a clever leader. Author W. Pink wrote of him, Satan has had a full opportunity afforded to him to study the fallen human nature. The devil knows full well how to dazzle people by their attraction of power. He knows how to gratify the craving for knowledge. He can delight the ear with music and the eye with entrancing beauty. He knows how to exalt people to dizzying heights of worldly greatness and fame, how to control the greatness so that it may be employed against God and His people. In today's world, every leader has to be one who solves perpetual crisis in the Middle East. Jimmy Carter thought he had achieved it at Camp David, but Clinton tried frantically to eke out the statement during the final months of his administration. George W. Bush also sought to broker peace agreement. Donald Trump made significant progress with Abraham Accords, and yet today there is still no roadmap to world peace. But where all these men failed, the Antichrist will succeed. A cunning leader in love, with his own power, he will broker peace and solve most difficult geopolitical puzzles. At that point, virtually no one will question his brilliant leadership. Remember, it is not only the Antichrist who will lead the people astray, but the Bible warns that there will come a time when people will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. 2 Timothy 4:3 NIV. Hope you guys have a great day.